Today, Joe Biden makes some questionable remarks about Vladimir Putin, and Hollywood privilege now apparently includes being able to assault people. We've got all that and more coming up, and it all starts right now. Welcome to the news and why it matters. I am Sarah Gonzalez. Happy Monday. I am joined today by my good friends, Chad Prather.
Keep my name out of your effing mouth. Keep my name out your effing mouth.
But I'm just trying to introduce you. How do I do that if I can't say your name?
Don't say my name.
Chad Prather, it's going to be an interesting show.
Keep everybody's name out. Your name, my name.
Really hard to do. My wife's name, whoever. Joined also. Can I say your name?
You may say my name.
Okay.
Yes.
Keep Matthew Morrison's name.
Matthew Marsden, of course, today I'm introducing you as our Hollywood expert.
Oh, okay. Don't be hating.
Yeah, I know. It's like our Hollywood expert.
I'm Hollywood expert.
But we love him
He ain't
anyway.
in Hollywood anymore.
He's ex-Hollywood,
Yes.
but he still knows enough to be able to give us, I think, some very fascinating analysis on what happened last night at the Oscars. But first, I want to get into what happened over the weekend with our dementia patient in chief. This was Saturday. Joe Biden delivering a speech in Poland. He's trying to, rally the NATO allies to stand against the Russian invasion taking place in Ukraine. And a very, very weird moment. I want to play Joe Biden. This is like at the end of his speech. And he's like, hey, by the way, this guy can't remain in power, guys. Watch.
Ukraine will never be a victory for Russia. For free people refused to live in a world of hopelessness and darkness. We will have a different future, a brighter future, rooted in democracy and principle, hope and light, of decency and dignity, of freedom and possibilities. For God's sake, this man cannot remain in power.
Weird way to end.
Well, first of all, it was a word salad that none of it made sense.
Did you say
start,
fee?
You know, just start throwing out your vision for the world of peace and tranquility and, all that stuff, and then end with a regime change.
Right. Okay, right.
Yeah. We're going to have peace and tranquility. By God, this guy can't stay in power.
You can imagine the teleprompter guy going.
Yeah. Well, I mean, right.
He's off script.
And that was what I was going to ask you guys. There's no way that was on script. It was thrown in at the end. And, I mean, poor Joe has so much of a hard time anyway, just reading the prompter. I don't know how he managed to, speak any coherent sentences off prompter. But this is definitely probably not the one you want him to be going off script
I
about.
have a theory that there's like half a dozen cryogenic bubbles. They keep it on Air Force One, and every one of them has a different Joe Biden in it, and they just pop one out. And the coherence is going to, the ability to understand what he's saying depends on how warm and thought out it is. Like it hasn't been out of the bubble long enough. I'm afraid one of those cold Joes is going to get us into another Cold War. Or World War III, even worse than that.
Yeah, Matt.
Yeah, no, I just every time I see him talk, I sit there and I go, it's kind of like, when you watch NASCAR, you're like, is he going to, no, they didn't crash. They didn't crash.
Yeah.
They didn't crash. Yeah. That's what I feel like when I'm watching him, genuinely. It is a sad thing that the leader of the free world is clearly challenged. I mean, in all seriousness, right? I mean, we joke about it, but there's millions and millions of people, billions of people all around the world looking to us, looking to America, and they're like, is that the best you have? Right? I mean, is that it?
Right,
Yeah.
right. Unfortunately,
we're in a bad situation. I tell people on my show, I said, y'all just go ahead and get Jesus. Get Jesus in your life, because we're in a bad situation here. I mean, this could be it for all of us.
I actually said to my friend yesterday, I said, no, it was actually today coming in, I was like, do you know that phrase, y'all need Jesus? Like, y'all need Jesus. I said, there's a reason why that phrase came out, right? It's true. I mean, we're really looking.
Yeah. I mean, this could really help us realize our mortality here. He's going to gaff us into World War III. Somebody's got to get him under control. In all seriousness, look, Antony Blinken's going to come out and try to walk it back.
He already did.
He did that. And then, of course, Mike Morrell, who's a former director of the CIA, said this was an unforced error. We've got to quit giving this guy excuses and hold him accountable. This isn't a President Trump phone call with Zelensky about Biden crimes and the Biden family. This is stuff that's going to get us into a global scale war if he's not careful. You know, talking about, well, they won't let me go over into Ukraine. No, typically we don't let the president walk across the border into war-torn countries that are being invaded. That is typically the rule of thumb for our foreign policy.
Right. So you mentioned Blinken. He already walked it back, but there was also a White House official that said that, look, Biden was not discussing Putin's power in Russia or regime change. He was actually just saying Putin can't be allowed to exercise power over his neighbors in the region. It's like, no, that's not what he said at all. We all heard it.
No,
that's not even.
This is as bad. This was the other day when Kamala Harris referred to Ukraine being a member of NATO.
Right.
You know, our
multiple
NATO,
times.
Ukraine, our NATO allies, and then they went back and they deleted her tweet and added in and our NATO allies. This is the Vice President of the United States referring to Ukraine being a member of NATO. This, in some parts of the world, they want to kick your ass for stuff like that.
Well, so I want to throw into the equation here, because it's not the first time that Joe Biden has said something that you're like, oh, this is not the guy we want running our country when there is the potential for a World War III. He had actually went on Friday and talked to U.S. troops that were stationed in Poland, and he said that when they were in Ukraine, he said, you're going to see when you're there. And some of you have been there. You're going to see women, young people standing in the middle of a tank. You know, I mean, he's implying to these troops that we are going to be deploying them into Ukraine. Here's some of that. Watch.
But the Ukrainian people have a lot of backbone. They have a lot of guts, and I'm sure you're observing it. And I don't mean just the military, which is we've been trained in since back when Russia moved into in the southeast Ukraine, but also the average citizen. Look at how they're stepping up. Look at how they're stepping up. And you're going to see when you're there, and some of you have been there. You're going to see women, young people standing in the middle in front of a damn tank, just saying, "I'm not leaving. I'm holding my ground." They're incredible. But they take a lot of inspiration from us. And you know, a woman who just died, the Secretary of State, used to have an expression. She said, "We are the essential nation." It sounds like a bit of hyperbole, but the truth of the matter is, you are the organizing principle around which the rest of the world the free world is moving.
So, again, just not what you want to see in your leader when there is the potential for world war. He can't even get out sentences without having to take in a deep breath. You can tell he's very winded just by standing there talking, and also telling American troops that they are going to be deployed to Ukraine, even though, by the way, the White House right afterwards is like, no, we're not actually, no, we're not changing our stance. We're not deploying military. It's like, then why is the president saying that?
Well, as well, you also have complicit media, right? Because when Trump said something, little rocket man, okay. When he said something, they were like, he absolutely means it. Like the most of us looking at it is like, listen, the dude's a negotiator, right?
Yeah.
He goes here and then he gets about there, and it works, right? And so nobody on the right was like ever believed that Trump meant what he was saying in those negotiations. But everyone said on the left that absolutely true. He means it. He means blah 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 blah. And then when Joe Biden says it over and over and over again, no, and you're like, what is it?
You know what? It's funny. I wouldn't be surprised if they blamed that on his stutter, because they seem to blame everything else on his stutter. It has like nothing to do with the stutter. They're like, no, it's just, how dare you? He has a stutter. Don't you know that, Chad?
Oh, well,
how heartless.
Listen, Vladimir Putin's not corn pop, okay? You can't go confront him in the parking lot. Scranton Joe, lunch pail Joe, big tough talking Joe.
Right.
Look here, Jack. That's his attitude towards everything, though. But again, he's a dementia patient, so you're going to get some of that anger issue. And you're right. Whenever, like if I go on Twitter and I say something stupid happens, and somebody comes at me and I'm like, well, I was just kidding. You can't say that.
Right.
You can't say, well, I was just joking or I misspoke or something like that. No, the cancel culture's out there. That spirit is going to hold your feet to the fire. Like, no, but they do this over and over again with Joe Biden. He can get away with every gaffe in the world. It doesn't matter what he says, right? So here we are in a situation with a guy, you don't know what he's about to say. Well, if you don't know what he's about to say, you don't know what he's about to do.
Right.
That's the scary part.
Yeah.
Right.
Because his actions, I mean, hopefully somebody's putting him back in that cryogenic bubble and keeping his hands off the trigger. Because this guy might decide to, roll a length of chain up around his arm and go out there and mess with Corn Pop, who ran a group of bad boys.
Well, to be fair, I do think he seems like he probably takes a lot of naps. So I feel like he's probably just spending most of his time napping.
He drinks an Ensure at 10, 2, and 4, and he's in bed by 6. There's no question about it.
6 is late, I think.
Yeah.
The senior special's at 4:30 in case he goes out to eat. I want to.
And can I also say before you go to that?
Please.
I do want a regime change. I want this regime in the so-called United States of America. I want it gone.
Yeah.
All right. So let me go on record. Regardless of what he walks back about Putin, I ain't walking it back about Biden.
And you know what? Here's another thing. Like, we tend to look at it from our perspective, right? And the West perspective. But you've had years and years and years and years of them saying that Russia.
Yeah.
With what they did, they were involved in this, and they did that, and this is Russian disinformation for Hunter's laptop, and Russia this, Russia that, and there they go in. We had nothing to do with that, actually. That was your fella. So if you've heard that over and over again, like, we're not looking at it how it looks from the other side. It's a very, myopic view, and we have to stop and say. After all these things have been said for years and years and years and years, I mean, it is years now, right? I mean, when did all that scandal first come out? Right? It's about 3 years ago, 4 years ago?
Yeah.
Right? And now...
The collusion?
Yeah.
That's 2016, and then there was Hunter's laptop that was
so the collusion, then Hunter's laptop, and now he's saying this stuff. If you're the bad guys, you're going to look and go, well, there's a line of, they're saying this about us. They're saying, they finally got in power. Oh, and now he's saying this? Yeah. I mean, I would say, like, what Putin is doing is not right? We know that, but there was a time when we had to really be careful about what we said on the world stage, because guess what? They've got nuclear weapons, and they take it seriously. Yeah. I mean, I hope they don't take it seriously.
Where are we on time?
You're fine.
All right. So, here's the thing. Russia can't do a long, drawn-out war. They don't have the budget for it.
Right.
They can't finance a long, drawn-out war. He can't even finance a long, drawn-out occupation of Ukraine. If Ukraine keeps putting up resistance, they can't continue to do that. So guess what? Their last cause of action, or their last recourse of action, they got to push a button. Yeah. They got to use what they have in the arsenal. Right. So shut up, Joe.
Please.
That's all I'm saying.
Please.
Shut up, Joe.
We saw how you handled the pullout of Afghanistan. Like, please don't get us involved in anything else.
Which, again, is the reason we're where we are today.
Yeah.
Putin saw that.
Yeah.
And now here we are.
Yep. Yeah, that's a great point. I want to get into one of the more nefarious issues when it comes to Joe Biden talking about all of this, what's going on with Russia and Ukraine, which is the push towards green energy and kind of using this as the springboard for that. Let me go ahead and do that after the break. First, we want to thank our sponsor, Omega XL. So if you just live in constant pain, maybe you have arthritis, maybe you have knee pain, maybe you've gotten in a car accident like I did several years ago, and it just messed up the discs in your back, and you're just living in pain. What you may not realize is the likely cause of that pain is the actual inflammation in your body. And if you're not defeating the inflammation, you're going to continue to have pain. You might have things that just mask it, right? Like a topical cream that you rub on for 10 minutes and it feels really good for the 10 minutes, and then you're back in pain again. Don't do that. Use Omega XL. It is backed by 35 years of clinical research, and it actually attacks the inflammation that is causing your pain. It goes to the root cause of the problem, and it's going to neutralize it. It is made from the pristine waters of New Zealand. It is a fatty acid combination. So a lot of you men out there, I'm just going to be sexist, a lot of you men out there are going to think that it doesn't work. It's natural. It doesn't work.
That's messed up.
You guys would be wrong.
You're not a biologist.
Yeah.
I'm not a biologist. What do I know?
Why did you look at us and say men?
What?
I'm so offended.
You men would be wrong, okay? And I think maybe the last 2 years, if it's taught us something, don't always put your stock in pharmaceuticals. You got to go for the natural stuff every once in a while, and you need to with Omega XL. It will get you out of pain. It can be life-changing. You can go to omegaxl.com/news. If you order now, you will get a second bottle for free. That is omegaxl.com/news. All right, before we move into what happened at the Oscars last night, which I know a lot of you are going to be like, oh, you didn't, Chad has no idea what happened. But I know a lot of you are going to be like, that's not important, but I think it is. So stick with us on that. I first want to get into just wrapping up the Joe Biden speech in Poland. It's just fascinating to watch them use all of these things that are happening in the world to further push their agenda in any way possible. Because Joe Biden, in the same speech in Poland, mentions again, for the safety of our nation, we really need to move as quickly as possible towards renewable energy. Watch.
As a matter of economic security and national security for the survivability of the planet, we all need to move as quickly as possible to clean, renewable energy. And we'll work together to help get that done.
Yeah, I mean, it's that Putin price hike. Right?
I mean, that right there is why I have a hard time taking any of this seriously. I feel for the civilians, again, the people who are caught in the middle of this game that's going on, but it is a game. You're going to sit there, you're on the verge of this major global disaster that's going on in Europe right now, and you're going to talk about renewable energy?
Yeah, it does seem very sinister.
Don't it do? It almost makes me think that everything we see these days, there's something else underneath or behind it.
Really?
It's just a hunch. Go to your next story.
Well, let me get Matt.
And Matt don't count. He's British. I'm kidding.
I'm a proud American.
Please, let Matt talk.
No, I mean, again, here's the thing. Because when I speak, it sounds very, very intelligent.
It really does.
It's not at all.
Actually,
I'm very envious.
Legitimately, I just love listening to you.
But I'm dumb as a box of rocks.
No,
that's the
stop.
truth.
No, he's not, but I want to have sex with him.
Play your cards right. So here's my thing. Nobody that was in power when they did the lockdowns lost their job. Their lives weren't affected at all. They could all afford to pay for the hikes and get the toilet paper and whatever it was they needed. They weren't affected at all. Mm-hmm. Same thing with this, right? They are hiking up all the prices on things. There's no, gas shortage when we're sitting on more gas than any other country in the world. And the little people are getting screwed. Yeah. They don't care. This is the difference. Is what I don't understand, that voters think that these people give a damn about them. They just don't care. And I wish that people would see that when they make comments like this, right? Because what he should be thinking of is, let's just say, okay, he's talking about Russia, whatever. Why does it seem like they care about everyone else but Americans?
Right.
Mm-hmm. And the people the Americans that would normally vote for them, which is working class, blue collar people.
Right.
They don't care.
Yeah.
Right.
They have never cared since I've opened my eyes to it politically, because I'm from a working class background, even though I'm in an industry that's mainly...
You're an elite.
Yeah, of course I am. Yeah.
He's in an elite
No, but
industry.
it's true,
Yeah,
right? I mean,
yeah.
they just don't care, and they're completely divorced from reality. And I think that people really need to get a grip, because it's like, when people think they know you, when you're on TV, they think they know you, so they'll come up and talk to you like they know you. But they don't really know you, and you are distanced from them. Mm-hmm. It's on a huge scale when you get to politics, right? He's the president of the United States, but he's been in Senate for how long? And he just doesn't, he can't, the corn pop thing's a classic example. It's utter...
Yeah.
I was going to swear. I didn't swear. But
It's not,
he thinks
that ain't swearing in Britain.
Yeah, there you go.
Or on my show.
And he thinks it's relatable, but it's not. It's not a relatable thing. They talk about things they think are relatable, but they're not. It's like the PR people came up and said, hey, listen, this is really relatable, talk about it.
Yeah, and they go, well, just buy a Tesla if you don't like gas prices.
Yeah,
It's
like get an electric car.
The average American can't just drop what they're doing and go buy a Tesla. I totally agree. I want to switch gears here to what happened last night at the Oscars. Very strange scene. Chris Rock, was Chris Rock hosting the whole thing? Do you guys know?
No.
I don't know.
Okay, so he was
Wanda
just
Sykes was the host.
Okay, so he was just like
He was just a
he was just
presenter.
presenting something
Yeah.
and made a joke about Jada Pinkett Smith's lack of hair. She shaved her head. Apparently, the story is that she has alopecia, and so she decided to just go ahead and shave her head because she was struggling with alopecia. Made a joke on stage, and then a very awkward moment transpired. I can't wait to get, gentlemen, your takes on this, but let's watch that moment.
Jada, I love you. G.I. Jane 2, can't wait to see it. All right? that was a nice one. Okay. I'm out here. Uh-oh, Richard.
Will Smith incoming.
Wow.
So he goes on to say, Will Smith just smacked the out of me, at which point Will Smith is seated at this point again and says, well, what Chad said at the beginning of the show.
Keep my wife's name out your effing mouth.
Like it was very tense. He says it twice. It's very tense. It feels very raw.
Very much like an actor would. Who's
Well,
about
that's what I was
to win
going
an
to say.
Academy Award.
That's what I was going to
could
say.
do- could
These are actors. They're supposed to be the best of the best. Some might say some of them aren't. But I think it's interesting because I think you guys differ on this. Matt, I think you were supposed to be on the program later this week, but I was like, I need you on today because this was your world.
Yeah.
You say that was real.
100% real.
Why?
There's multiple reasons. I mean, firstly, I'll look at why would they stage this? Like, it used to be the pinnacle for actors. I don't think people see it like that anymore. People around the world used to look and say, I mean, I grew up thinking, one day that's where I want to be. The pinnacle is winning an Oscar. So if that's the case, why, when you're nominated for an Oscar, would you sit down? Imagine sitting down and going, hey, listen, what I'm going to do is I'm going to come up, I'm going to slap you.
Yeah, it doesn't make sense.
Right?
Yeah.
And you're going to go like this, and then I'm going to walk back, and then I'm going to yell at you. It just doesn't make sense. This is from a guy that doesn't swear in his rapping. Right? So that's the first thing for me. It just doesn't make sense. And it pulls up a lot of unpleasant stuff about him and his relationship with his wife. And then how does it make Chris Rock look? Some people are like, well, you shouldn't have said it. But he's a comedian, it's a comedian. That's what you do. You live on the edge, I mean, God forbid Ricky Gervais was there.
Exactly.
I mean, everyone would have
Exactly.
been running up and hitting the stage. But also people were saying, no, it was a stage slap. I'm like, okay, that's not how it's done, right? When you're throwing a punch for television or for movies, you can be a foot away from the person. In fact, they want you to be far away from the person because even in those situations, your adrenaline runs a little bit and you can strike the person. I actually knocked someone out doing that because it wasn't my fault. The stunt guy was going, no, get closer. And I was like, I don't want to do it because it was dark. And I actually rang his bell, actually just similar to that. I hit him like that and the guy went down and dropped like a stack of potatoes. But there's no reason for them they could stage it so that it was nowhere near Chris. And think about it, like normally he would have gone down. What I think happened was he said something. It's one of those weird things, right? Like when you're in a car accident, some people behave differently. They behave oddly. They don't go, some people will laugh. Like you hear a lot of people in war, they go, well, they laughed all the way through the firefight, right? When really they were really hyped up. So I think something happened because Will was laughing. I think he was like, hang on a minute. And he goes up.
So this is a still of Will laughing. Jada's rolling her eyes, but Will's laughing at the joke.
Yeah, I think but I think it was a little bit like, oh, he just made a joke about that. Well, hang on a minute. Now, we don't see, this is the odd thing, we don't see the other shot. Then he gets up and he walks up and Chris Rock has still got his hands behind his back. Yeah. Right? Now, people are like, well, why did he do that? Well, imagine if Will Smith was joking. He thought Will Smith was joking and Will went like that and Chris Rock went like that. He'd look like he'd look lame.
Right.
So he was just standing there like that, boom, and that slap, smack, he goes down. And if you watch after that, he said, Will Smith just smacked the crap out of me. Yeah. And then he goes, Will Smith says what he says, which his eyes are dilated, he's got his chin up, he's all hyped up. And then Chris Rock says, no, I won't. It's super fast, but if you listen to it, he was going to come back. And as comedians, they normally go, well, I could say this about, he could have taking him.
Chris Rock had the jokes written in Will Smith's follow-through. That's how fast his brain was working.
Oh, yeah.
Especially when he's on.
Yeah. Probably.
He's already gone.
But it was awkward because he did say like, okay, because he says, keep my wife's name out of your mouth.
Yeah.
I'm going to.
Yeah.
I'm going to. It
was all weird.
Felt
It
really
was all weird.
weird.
Chris Rock already has a new hour of material written today. That's the truth.
But where's the release from the agents?
Right.
Nothing. And the thing is, let me tell you guys, the day after Oscars, people do not come in till about 12 o'clock into the agencies, right? So, and then normally if it was a setup like that, he would have been partying with Chris Rock afterwards, like, oh, yeah. And there was none of that. You didn't see any of that. They just went,
yeah.
It just didn't smell right to me.
So, Chad, I want to get your take on that incident, and then I want to take a break, and then we can I want to get into why I think it's relevant. Not just let's talk about the Oscars, but I think that there's a particular part of it that I'd like to get into. But Chad, what was your, you think it was fake?
I will say no, not necessarily.
Okay.
I said I was watching it live. I didn't want to be, but I was at a hotel, sitting in a restaurant. I was sitting at the bar.
Someone was holding a gun to your head?
I was sitting there, and I had asked him. I said, "Could you change the channel from the Oscars?" And they said, "No, some other people are watching it." And I said, "Sound was down." And then I look up and I see this thing going down. I was like, that was real. I understand television delay. So I know that Chris Rock's standing there and I was like, well, either the screen froze and then there's a clip right in the middle. It's almost like they cut some of the awkward pause out and did an edit on the fly. So there's usually about a 40-second delay in a live thing. Maybe not quite that long for that, but I don't know. They do a little bit of a clip right there, and he's still there, and there's the altercation, of course, as the whole thing's been pulled down. It's been silenced. It's been bleeped out. And of course, we know now what was said. It definitely wasn't staged by Chris Rock. He didn't know he was about to get smacked. I think Will pull the slap a little bit, okay? I agree with Matt on this in that these were real emotions that were going on. And Chris Rock's come at Jada Pinkett Smith before back in 2016 when he said she wasn't invited to the Oscars just like I ain't invited into Rihanna's panties. So he compared her to Rihanna's panties because she was snubbing the Oscars because Will didn't get, so I think there's some stuff that's going on there, but I'll go deeper into what I think was going on after we take a break.
Okay. All right. Perfect. All right. So then let's thank our sponsor, Grove Collaborative. So if you're like me, you have a family, you have pets, you have a whole bunch of beings in your house that you want to make sure that whatever you are using to clean your house doesn't have harsh chemicals and irritants that might harm them. That is where Grove Collaborative comes in. They have hundreds of products aimed at replacing the gross chemicals with something that is more friendly. It's green, it's environmentally friendly, but most importantly, at least for me, you can feel safe and confident using it with your family, with your pets, with whoever may come into your house. They've got, my favorite brand that they carry is Mrs. Meyer's, which you could go to like Whole Foods and get for a ridiculous price. You can get it over at Grove Collaborative. They've got all that and more. They've got pet items. They've got items for babies. They've got it all. They serve over 2 million households already. You got to make sure that you are one of them. You can go to grove.com/news. You'll get a free gift set worth up to $50 with your first order. Shipping, by the way, is fast and free. Get started over at grove.com/news. That is grove.com/news. All right, so getting back into what happened at the Oscars, I want to play for you. So just let's fast forward a little bit. For those, I know you guys, if you're watching this program, you didn't watch the Oscars probably. So let me just tell you, if you didn't already hear, Will Smith ended up going on to win an award it was Best Actor, right? Mm-hmm. Which I think is very sexist and wrong that they actually have categories, Best Actor and Best Actress now. Because I'm told that saying that any gendered award is wrong. Mm-hmm. But he won Best Actor. He got up, he cried, he said he was sorry. It was like a very weird speech, emotional speech. And then after he allegedly, right, we're supposed to believe that he committed assault on someone. So he commits assault. He's very sorry for it. And then later on in the night, there's a video of him just like dancing and having a grand old time. Watch. Singing his awful, awful, awful song. that it's like, why would you want to relive that song? It was horrible. Why are you singing to it again?
Cuba Gooding did a handstand.
At that?
When he won his Oscar.
Yeah.
That's terrible.
You're just rapping to your horrible song. But it is interesting because it's like, what kind of privilege and elitism is that you commit assault live on television? It's obviously recorded, and you then go on to win the most important award in your particular profession, and you're just like, everything's totally fine later. You just get to party and celebrate with your friends. Assault is so fun. It's so cool. You get rewarded for it in Hollywood, I guess. I don't know. It just was weird.
It was a mostly peaceful Oscar ceremony.
Mostly peaceful.
Mostly gentle slap.
Yeah.
So here's why that matters. First of all, it was assault. Okay, let's say Matt's right, and
if it was real, it's assault.
If it's real. Okay, so if it's fake, you have to come out and say it's fake.
You have to.
Because otherwise, he broke the law.
Yeah.
He assaulted another man. So, and it's black on black crime. So, you go one step further. They say, well, Chris Rock didn't press charges. It's not up to the victim to determine whether or not you broke the law. Okay? If someone carjacks me and shoots me in the head, I'm not there to press charges. That person
Charges are still pressed.
gets arrested, right? Mm-hmm. So this is one of those, call it a travesty of justice, whatever you want to call it. This is one of those situations where you see the elites, which, by the way, nobody's wearing masks. If you didn't, there were maybe 3 people in the whole room wearing masks, and nobody was socially distancing. And Judi Dench, she's 900 years old. I was like, y'all don't care anything about grandma breathing all over that old lady.
That's a great point.
But this is a thing where the elites get to do exactly what they want to do, including slap somebody on public, in like global television with Japanese subtitles.
Right, and everyone's just like, oh, wow, cool.
There was even people there signing for Coda. They did it in every, he slapped the out of, sorry, in every language.
Beep, beep, beep. Beep. So, well, here's the thing, though. They have a problem, and this is what the problem is. You can go and smash a store up and loot it and not be prosecuted. Then you're going to go and prosecute an actor for slapping a guy on stage?
Right.
So you imagine if you're the store owner, Will Smith gets arrested, which he should have done, right? He should have. And yet your store has been looted, thousands and thousands of dollars. Maybe someone's got hurt. People are getting hit all the time. We've seen all those, those assaults, and nobody's getting prosecuted for it. You're going to be there going, hang on a minute.
Yeah.
Right.
Well,
so hold on. So I have a question about that. So do you think it was, what is it? Was it the Hollywood elitism that got him off? Was it that he aligns with the right people?
Both.
And that's okay. So if you're part of the social justice mindset, whether you are looters and rioters or you're Hollywood elitists, you're going to get let off.
It's all the above. I mean, we've seen it over and over and over again with people in Hollywood.
Right.
Seriously.
Right. Yeah. No,
well,
I
look
agree.
at Jussie Smollett.
Right.
Right? The only thing missing from this attack is actually somebody else did it, and nobody screamed, this is MAGA country. Right? I mean, Chris Rock got beat up worse than Jussie Smollett, whether it was fake or not.
Yeah.
Because, But look, okay, BioNTech is the COVID-19 shot partner with Pfizer. So Pfizer was the sponsor of the Oscars.
Of course they were.
I'll go down the little conspiracy trail with you.
Of course they were.
Pfizer is currently in the third phase, the 2B/third phase of a clinical drug for alopecia. What in the world could get everybody talking about alopecia? Because nobody's talking about alopecia. Suddenly, the whole world's talking about alopecia today. Pfizer is coming out with an alopecia drug. They sponsored the Oscars. So if I was going to drive the whole setup thing, I would say, okay, maybe there's an angle there. But at the end of the day, what really matters is the fact that somebody broke the law and got away with it right in front of everybody. So that tells you that on the world stage, I don't care if it's Hunter Biden, Hillary Clinton, whoever you want to list off, we know that the elites can break the law. There's no consequences for them.
Yeah. Yeah, it is really disgusting. Okay, I want to switch gears here and go over to Florida, where Governor Ron DeSantis has signed the state's parental rights in education legislation. He made an interesting statement on, I love this man so much. He's like, I don't give a crap what any of these woke corporations say about any of this. I'm doing what I know is right for parents. Watch this.
We will continue to recognize that in the state of Florida, parents have a fundamental role in the education, healthcare, and well-being of their children. We will not move from that. I don't care what corporate media outlets say. I don't care what Hollywood says. I don't care what big corporations say. Here I stand. I'm not backing down.
I love it. I love it so much. So there it is, Ron DeSantis signing this, what all of the left would say is the Don't Say Gay bill, which, by the way, I did see another clip from the Oscars.
Well, Wanda Sykes and Amy Schumer came out and said this is going to be a gay night based off of the Florida bill. So this is going to be a gay night, gay, 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 gay. And based off of Will Smith's slap, it's pretty gay.
Matt?
Well, look, I just see Ron DeSantis coming out and saying what every regular folk in America and mainly across the world thinks is like, I have a say in what my kids do.
Right.
I mean, why is this controversial? I don't get it. I really don't.
Isn't it sad?
It's crazy. And when you say, well, actually, I think that I should be the one that teaches my kids about sex.
Amazing.
Yeah. No, but you know what they'll tell you, Matt? You know what they'll tell you? They'll say, but your kids should have access to it if it's in literature. And then it's your job as a parent to talk to them about what they've already been exposed to by someone else.
Yeah.
That's legitimately what they
I cannot
exactly
see what goes
said.
wrong in that. I cannot see what could go wrong in that.
Right.
By literature, what do you mean?
Well, they mean whatever is in print.
Yeah,
Literally whatever is in print is what they would tell you, because they don't recognize that children's brains are not equipped to handle that kind of information. It's just like, well, no, they're going to get exposed to it in the real world. You just have to explain it to them.
So on tonight's episode of my show, we have Adam Gillette, who's coming on from Accuracy in Media, AIM.org. They have exposed footage of educators who are basically saying, we're going to take these things, whether CRT, SEL, sex ed, whatever, we're just going to rebrand it. They're actually caught on camera saying, now we're calling it mental health. Now we're calling it, advocacy classes, whatever they want to say. And you need to watch that show tonight. It is powerful what Adam has to say.
It's on right after this program.
Yes, it is.
So make sure to tune into that. But yeah, just really, really disgusting. Really glad that Ron DeSantis is standing up to all of the leftist indoctrination into your kids. All right, let's go ahead and take a break. We'll be right back. So speaking of all of the leftists who want to indoctrinate your children, within that movement is this weird trans movement where people are pretending like men can turn into women, but now that's not all, because we're reading things like this tweet that went viral that said, okay, I'm a trans woman who's experiencing her first period cramps, and what the F? I have literally never felt pain like this. Why do we let people live like this? I have questions, but I think the biggest one is I hope you get to a doctor. Will you please go see a doctor? Because those are not period cramps. You don't have a uterus. You probably should be seen. Also, where are you bleeding from?
Yeah, I mean, you don't have a uterine wall to cleanse the lining, so I don't know. I mean, that's called IBS.
Is that where it's coming out? I don't know.
You need laxatives is what you need. Maybe you have diverticulitis or Crohn's disease or an appendicitis. I don't know what's going on.
But you definitely need to go see a doctor.
It is not menstrual cramps. If you're legitimately hurting, you might have some form of cancer. I mean,
you need to go to a doctor. That's what I'm saying.
Their appendix might be
this is where this dysphoria stuff is guess what? You might have a real problem going on.
Wait a second. Are you saying that someone who would say that they are a different gender may need mental help?
They know it. They might not want to admit it. They know it. They just don't know where to go get it.
Right. Well, they're going to go get it, and they have the wrong people
the
enabling
ideology
it.
wants to normalize all this stuff to the point of saying, oh, no, it's perfect. You're fine. You're fine. No, you're not fine. Mm-hmm. And you wind up, if you don't kill yourself, statistically you may, you're going to get yourself killed because you're going to ignore something that biologically is unique to you or not unique to you that you're saying is.
Right. Right. Yeah. So, Matt, I make the obvious, statement that this person is not, like, that's not menstrual cramps that you're experiencing, and I'm called things like a transphobe.
I mean, what are you going to say? I mean, I got nothing. I mean, you say something, but...
Are you afraid of trans people?
I know. It's like
I'm really scared.
I'm afraid of a man who dresses up like a girl.
But it's like arachnophobia. You have an irrational fear of this.
Yeah.
Like, words don't mean anything anymore.
No,
this thing drives me crazy. You're a transphobe. You're all these, homophobic.
Homophobe.
What does that mean?
Yeah.
I'm scared of gay people. Like I said, they go, no, I don't want to see gay people.
I'm a xenophobe, therefore I'm scared of him.
Right.
I'm scared of him because he's a giant physical man. I've seen him kill people in movies.
And all that's true, by the way. It's all true.
It's all true.
I did all of it.
Interpret reality by what you see. Listen, I'm watching this show the other day. I'm snowed into the house, right? Our 2 days of ice in Texas, and I'm watching Reacher. And all of a sudden, I hit pause and I go, Matt goes, hey, mate, you're on my TV.
I'm like,
he goes, okay. You're like, oh, you're watching Reacher. And I was like, my man's still on it, baby.
But here's the thing. Here's the thing, though. It's like, I don't understand these phrases, right? Like, I don't understand climate denier.
Right.
No, there is not a climate.
Right.
Right? It's like vaccine denier. No vaccine. There is no such thing as a vaccine. I'm like, just why do we keep allowing people to take the narrative and say things that don't make any sense? It's really, really dangerous. And they've got it like locked down. The left has it locked down.
They do.
Climate denier. It's like Holocaust denier. Like they've clearly put those two things together. And like I said, do we deny there's a climate? I don't know there's a climate. There is a climate. I'm not denying there's a climate. What does it mean?
Well, they have been very smart. I mean, it's very cunning to try to use that kind of messaging because it just, on the surface, it makes you sound bad. There's a negative connotation. It's just like banning books. It's like going back to the Parental Rights bill. People are like, well, you're banning books by not wanting pornographic literature in kids' libraries. And it's like, no one's banning a book. Like, you're allowed to go buy the book. I just don't want it accessible to my kid in their school. That's not banning books, right? You're not allowing free speech by not allowing kids to read that stuff. It's like, that's not what any of these terms mean, but they've co-opted all of them.
Yeah, I mean, but look what Chad just said there to that tweet. It's like, hey, listen, you need to go and see a doctor because you're in pain, right? There might be something wrong. That's actually really good advice, right? That's objective advice. Like, you have a pain, you should go see a doctor.
Right.
But yet you'll be called a name for it. And you'll be said that you don't care. Because I know everything, like, I says my kids would love to eat ice cream every day of the week, all day. But I'm not being a mean dad by saying, no, you have to actually eat vegetables because they're good for you.
Yeah.
It doesn't mean I'm like a child, for whatever it might be. There's this weird perception that you have to agree with everything. Like, you say something, so it has to be true. Like, the worst phrase ever in the history of the world is my truth.
My truth.
Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah.
My truth is the most damaging thing ever.
That's a really great point. That's actually a great point to end on. All right, because we got to take a break. We'll be right back. That is, I know, it drives me nuts. There's just one. Hey, don't forget to go wherever you find your audio podcasts. You got to subscribe, rate, and review The News and Why It Matters. It will help more people be able to find this program. And also, we know you live in America. You're an American citizen. You're not going to do anything unless there's something in it for you. So here's what's in it for you when you write us a review. You may see it read live on air, like the one today from Lazy AH Ranch, who says, 5 stars. I love it. I listen every day on my way home from work, and I listen to Chad Prather on my way to work. Blaze is the best bipartisan news out there, but you guys are the greatest. Love the guest crew every time. FYI, don't be afraid to get more biblical because us Christians are fed up. Thank you and your guests for all y'all do with giving us facts and truth. Godspeed. Thank you very much. Don't be afraid to get more biblical, gentlemen. I don't. That's dangerous to tell this one. He will get on his pulpit and be preaching like that.
Yeah, don't miss my show.
Yeah, definitely tune in to the Chad Prather show right after this program. Also, make sure if you have not yet checked out Matt's movie, I Am That Man, you can find it on Amazon. It is awesome. So make sure to check that out. Gentlemen, thank you for being here.
Thank you for having me.
See you tomorrow.